I love the three programs that you mentioned, and I would like to go into depth with each one of them, and how they started, and what services y'all provide, and how can they get involved in these different programs. When do you meet? When we want to give them everything. It's only an hour show, but we're going to try to just overfeed them right now, and hopefully later on we'll get the flow coming in, and we'll make the program bigger because Staten Island needs this. There's one question I want to ask you before we go any further. I know you mentioned Staten Island, but is this in the other 5 boroughs also?
I think there are other organizations that have coalition-focused projects as it deals with child wellness, but this particular initiative is very Staten Island focused. We are blessed with a number of stakeholders that are not physically based in Staten Island, but organizations like the Department of Mental Health and Hygiene, they're based in Manhattan, but a lot of their staff actually comes to our meetings, and they provide different forms of support for the community as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah, but going back to your question about how the Child Wellness Initiative, also known as CWI, started, it actually started off as a health and wellness task force in the Office of Borough President, and they collectively came together with a number of experts that are pretty much invested in child wellness, and they identified among the different chronic health conditions, they identified obesity as a focus in improving the number of healthy children on Staten Island. So initially the project was very obesity focused, but then we realized that if we're going to address children, we want to address the whole child. Right. So although a lot of our efforts are very obesity focused, obesity prevention focused, or increasing the number of healthy children, we look at the whole child in a number of ways, such as improving access to healthy fruits and vegetables, so the different food insecurities that a lot of our underserved neighborhoods within Staten Island face. And then we look at, how can we improve or support nutrition education programming within schools. And then we work with a number of clinical partners, specifically different health practices and pediatricians, to monitor the BMI of children. And we realize that that indicator, the body mass index, is not the greatest way to just measure the health of a child. So we also look at lifestyle behaviors as well. So just being able to track the change in where the community is actually shopping to purchase their food. Right. And if there's any barriers interfering with that. So if there's an access issue in terms of what type of food is available to that community, number one, we definitely want to be mindful of that, because we realize that resources across the board on Staten Island is obviously not the same. And we have a number of partners that are very invested in addressing this issue, City Harvest being one of them, the Office of the Borough President, Department of Education, so many to mention. And then we also look at the different transportation infrastructures on Staten Island as well, and any barriers that prevents people from just being able to walk from point A to point B. And we realize that there are if we're trying to increase active living and help people maintain that healthy weight or live a healthier lifestyle, we have to look at the certain barriers that's taking away from that. So we have some projects such as the active transportation projects that looks at how we can address like the infrastructure issues, so across sidewalks, across crosswalks. We track the rates of pedestrian accidents, the fatalities, and so we actually have a campaign that starts in about a month that's going to look deeply into these issues, and so that we can create advocacy around this, and also again create a culture of just moving more across the borough.
So, because you just explained so much right there. I think I have to rewind this and go back and, But is there a way to become involved? Like, how do they become involved in what you got coming up? Specifically, to put their feedback in there, or, to just give y'all some pointers of exactly what areas you should go in?
Yeah, there's a number of ways you can plug into this work. So, as I mentioned earlier, this initiative, the CWI initiative, began as a health and wellness task force, which the three of us is part of, and it formalized into an actual steering committee. As a matter of fact, all of the initiatives that I named earlier have their own respective steering committees. The majority of us, we typically meet every first, CWI specifically meets every first Wednesday of each month, and we'd be happy to share information with you after this conversation on how you can get plugged into the steering committee. And it's an invitation to everyone who's pretty much invested in improving child wellness on Staten Island from any degree. And then we also have a series of working groups. So we have a number of stakeholders that's working in between the steering committee meetings to pretty much address needs at different levels. And so across all of our work groups, so I'll just give you a few just to mention them. So we have the schools work group, and so they're looking at, how to expand nutrition education, how to promote physical activity programming, how to promote school wellness councils, which my colleague Darcy and our wonderful youth wellness intern Martha will talk about, but just being able to lend a hand to improving the student participation and pretty much making sure there's a space for a youth voice. So those are a few of the goals within the work group. And then we also have the clinical work group, the community work group. And again, these meetings are happening, on a monthly basis, but we open them up to pretty much anyone who's invested in the same issues.
Right, and how involved are the parents with these children, inside these initiatives? Because I feel as a parent, everybody has these standards and these diets, they eat certain foods, and some of those foods might not be good. Mm-hmm. Or it might be a situation like mine, where my neighborhood only has 3 bodegas in it, mm-hmm. and nothing else. So it's either you eat a beef patty or you eat a hero sandwich, which is no good, neither one of them. But it seems like they're not trying to put anything else there, nothing healthy, nothing that's gonna, attack these issues that you're talking about specifically. It's like they're pushing it on us harder. And it's sad because we're not too far from the ferry. So we're in, a very productive neighborhood, but they just keep overlooking us. So I hope, Sarah's involved with this. Shout out to Sarah Blas. She didn't make it. Sarah. She didn't make it, but she's still here with us in spirit. I'm hoping that y'all can come down there and maybe, shake a little things up and get us, Girardi's there, but Girardi's not dependable. Mm-hmm. We need dependable people. Even if it's just a pop-up vegetable or pop-up, health thing, we need that over there in the neighborhood. Yeah. Sarah works her behind off to mm-hmm. bring all of these programs there, but there's only so much that she can do, right. Mm-hmm. And it takes a platform like this to put a spotlight on that so it can definitely be addressed, especially by the borough president, and a few of those elected officials, because I feel that we get pushed to the wayside so much. That's why this show was very important for me to do, because I know there's so many parents and even youth that don't know their diet is wrong, or don't know not to drink those juices, or don't know not to eat that food, or it's just not cake. It's sad.
Yeah.
I asked about the parents. Absolutely. Because we're in modern times. We're in 2019, and unless you're a hands-on parent, you probably don't know what your child is consuming.
Right. We agree, and across the board with a number of our stakeholders, I think, parent engagement and parent empowerment is something that we haven't been perfect with, and we do realize that a number of our programs and that we have, especially, a number of our programs that we do have are not readily available, during the hours that are accessible for parents. And so we're looking at different ways, such as just being here today to create an awareness that, one, we do exist, but we can't do this work alone. We've identified gaps in participation, and within the recent conversations with our coalition, we've been taking a deeper dive as to how we could expand outreach to parents, just so that we understand the very needs and barriers that's affecting their overall health, their accessibility to certain food options that can help them live longer lives, but also their children as well. We understand how fundamental that is. And so, we had our schools work group meeting yesterday, and one of the things that came up was, how could we, align our efforts and build stronger connections with parent coordinators that are working within schools, different organizations that are very focused on parent empowerment. And, that's where we are right now. We're also trying to do more online, because we realize that social media has been a way to reach certain individuals, but there's nothing like a personal touch.
I'm glad you brought that up.
There's nothing like a personal touch. So a number of our organizations, just to name a few, that we've been working with, that has like the mobile market. So as you know, Muslim Sisters, I'm butchering the name, but
Muslim. I just was with them on Saturday. Actually.
Yes, Society. Yes, yes, Muslim Americans. Yes, Society. They. And I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name, but one of the things that I learned through Sarah Blast, by the way, was last week, Saturday, it was pretty much a heat wave. And despite the heat wave, they were out doing their mobile market bright and early, and they did what it took. And, I commend organizations like that. And there's a number of organizations that have a mobile market, and we realize that there are challenges with food storage because they receive donations, but then where can you store the food? So I think that there's a communication challenge as well, in terms of being able to communicate to parents like what is available within their communities. But like I said, I think we can do a better job given what we do know. But one of the things that I would say that, overall Staten Island can definitely do more on is just really making sure that as we're doing this universal approach of, improving the health of Staten Islanders, we got to keep equity in mind. There are specific populations that are, at a disadvantage. Their starting point is not the same. And so, that's another thing that, SIPCW and CWI and a number of our stakeholders has been very, very intentional about.
Because I'm going to give y'all time to talk.
Yes.
Y'all just here chilling. So, no, it's nothing. I would like you to give the website, because we didn't put that on. And they can get a very good overview, and they can take the time and go through every specific topic that you talked about. I guess my mic is acting crazy today.
Yeah.
But can you give them the website? And
Yes. So our website is sipcw.org. So I know we have a long name, but the acronym
it's worth it.
Yeah,
yes, it's worth it.
sipcw.org. We're also on social media as well, so you can find us under Staten Island Partnership for Community Wellness on Facebook, and we also have a CWI page as well. So we actually use that as a way to, specifically social media, to keep people abreast of the different events that's happening within the communities that are hosted by us and also our partners.
Right, and if they have any projects or any initiatives that they want to start, that's the best place for them to go and just get the ball on the road through y'all.
Absolutely. Right. You can contact us through social media, and then I think that's the easiest way if if you don't know someone specifically from the organization, we do read our messages through social media, but also on the website as well. That comes internally instantly. But we can definitely leave our information behind with Ja, just in case you want to be in touch with us.
Yes.
Specifically with Darcy, she heads a lot of the youth empowerment work for the organization, and so if there are things around that avenue that needs attention, or if you want to get in touch with Darcy, she's accessible.
Yes, we're about to get into Darcy right now, because I want to go into how do y'all build the capacity in the school system. And I also want to talk about, is it all the schools here, or is it specific schools that you work with here?
So we have a universal approach of how we, target schools. A lot of how we determine the starting point of which schools to go into, it starts with the data. So we've been looking at specific data sources of like the high need schools. We've also looked at Title I schools specifically because historically Title I schools are the most high need schools.
Right.
And so that's usually our starting point. And in terms of how we're building capacity, SIPCW has, conducted several trainings, school-based trainings, across the different initiatives. Tackling Youth Substance Abuse has done a number of trainings, and Behavioral Health Integration Project, and so has CWI. Specifically within schools, we do realize that a lot of the teachers are, sinking underwater, and so we try our best to look at, what the gaps are in terms of the type of supports that they need, and then we bring that information back to the coalition to see exactly how could we collectively address this at different levels. And because we have a strong partnership with the Department of Education, as well as a number of great partners that are pretty much invested in the same issues, we've been very successful at that.
So when it comes to the teachers, how open are they with, coming to y'all and addressing some of these issues through y'all?
Ooh, that is a good question. I think the comfort level will vary from person to person because we all have different relationships with teachers. And, with some of the teachers that we've worked with, I do realize that, they have to fill us out because we have to make sure that, their jobs are obviously not at stake. But I think different teachers have different comfort levels overall.
But I mean,
in terms of information sharing,
they filling the wrong people out because apparently y'all on top of everything, and you're so sweet. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you're coming in there and you're coming in there to take over. You're coming in there to assist them and work hand in hand with them. So they need to stop all of that filling out and just welcome you with open arms and
No, I'm not speaking for everyone, every teacher. I do think that, we have teachers that are, by the way, involved in our coalition work, but then they're also involved on the work group level. So in terms of a feedback loop, because of how we strengthen specific relationships, some of them have been open with, the existing challenges, at the school level. So, if we're rolling out a program that is supporting school garden expansion, which essentially is supposed to be a level of exposure that kids receive when it comes to eating fruits and vegetables or being able to identify specific fruits and vegetables, we realize that buy-in has to come from everyone involved in that project. And so there are a number of champions across the different schools that are identified to work on projects of that nature, but we also realize that there's capacity constraints as to how much they can actually invest in that, and that's, again, information that we need to receive so that we can look at, well, is there anything that we can do in terms of communicating with others that are providing similar services to be able to support the support that they need to roll out these programs. But it's a case-to-case basis for sure.
Okay, and I'm glad that you had brought up the garden, because I want to get into that next. But y'all are so quiet over here.
Yeah.
And my viewers is just gonna think like y'all mannequins or something.
Oh, they're not.
So I just want to get Martha's impression of the program, because you recently graduated. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Richmond High School. And was the program in school with you while you were attending school?
Yeah, it was.
And what did you like the most about the program?
That I could lend a voice, especially being that I am a minority.
All right now. And did you, convince these other youths and other students to get on board? How many people have signed up behind you?
Honestly, I think that was really
It's
hard.
a work in progress.
Yeah,
We'll work on that. We'll work on that. But
a lot of people. Oh, I'm sorry, but a lot of people were convinced though.
Okay. Where do you plan? Because you said you want to go into public office, right?
Yeah.
What do you plan to campaign? Is this going to be a part of your campaign? Is this going to be, an issue that you fight for going into public office?
Not initially. I'm more so into, African American, like specifically into that group.
Okay, you're in the right place for that.
Yeah.
Everybody needs them help. The help. And Darcy, I hear you're the expert when it comes to children. So I want you to jump in about, building capacity of schools from your point of view. And how has it benefited, the schools that you've dealt with so far?
Absolutely. So I can give you a little bit of an overview of one major project that we have, which Martha actually participated in, and she's a great example. So the America's Promise Alliance program is a program we're working with 9 schools on the North Shore, so 2 high schools, 3 middle schools, and 4 elementary schools. And it's a youth-led project, which is really exciting because instead of us coming in and saying, okay, here's what you're going to do, it's entirely up to the young people we work with, what they want to work on. Anything in the realm of health, which we know is a pretty broad category. So it involves going to these schools and building up the youth leadership that already exists. I didn't really do much with Martha. This is how she is. She's great at public speaking. She's very intelligent. So it's really just providing some skills and some tools and kind of giving them that platform that they need.
They need it.
And so they're specifically looking at health disparities in their school and health issues that they identify. And they're doing this through student wellness councils. So these are student groups that meet. Some of them meet during school, some meet after school. It really depends on what works with the school. And they're supported by our really amazing, we call them school wellness champions, that work in the school that already have really great rapport with these students. And we've been able to meet some really amazing teachers and people that work in the school, and they really help us move this work forward. So once we have the student wellness councils, the students decide on the two, they list like all these different health issues that they see in their school community. Then they vote on their top 2, and then those are the 2 issues that they're going to address going forward. So once they have these issues, they're also building up their assessment skills. So they're learning how to do its youth participatory research. So they're learning how to create surveys, how to do focus groups, things like that to kind of hear from their peers.
Yes.
And then to see if it matches up with the issues they've already identified. And then, so I won't know exactly what these projects look like because it's youth-led. So the students, once they have their issues, they might choose to do an awareness campaign. So maybe they want to lead workshops with the students or with parents or with teachers. Maybe they're really creative and they want to do a play, or they want to do some sort of, maybe they want to do spoken word, really whatever they want to do. And at the end, in spring 2020, it's going to culminate in a youth health summit. And all those different schools are going to come together and present. And ideally, we'd also like them to have an ask. So they could be asking policymakers, so it might be an elected official. It could be asking their principal for a change to happen within the school. It really is up to the students. But the main thing is that they're really identifying these issues, and then they're having a chance to really have their voices heard and feel like they can be agents of change within their own school. I'll give you a couple concrete examples of some of the issues they're talking about, and then I'll let Martha talk
us,
more.
What was the issues, the 2 major issues last year,
So
the 2 major issues that's going to be this year?
Okay, so we've started with some schools already, and others we're just starting with in the fall. So some of the issues that have come up, the biggest ones, mental health comes up again and again. Racism is another big issue that's coming up among students as well. And bullying. Those are the top ones that have come up so far.
Skip the line, because this is a bullying island. And it's not just with the kids. I see adults try to bully
They learn it from.
other adults. And, it's horrible. So I'm glad about them issues, but we need to say that it's food.
So the thing is that some of the schools have identified the same issues. So mental health has come up twice. So we've worked so far the 2 high schools. So Port Richmond identified violence and mental health as their top issues. So there's your other one, violence.
I can help you with that because my son experienced, something in Port Richmond with that, and I just think it needs to be addressed. These kids need to be able to go to school and just feel safe,
Absolutely.
in that environment. And I feel back to the bullying again. It's not just the kids that bully. You have some faculty members, you have some teachers, you have parents that come up to the school after school and they bully these children. So I would love to see that as the number one topic.
Absolutely.
And I feel that would help down the line, even with the racism, because that's a part of bullying also. Now, what did you want from Martha here?
Well, I would love for Martha to talk a little bit about what Port Richmond Student Wellness Council was doing and some of the work that you were involved in. If you want to just talk about some of the meetings or the trainings you participated in, anything you enjoyed.
Oh, go ahead. I'm just
Well, for starters, you wanted to make sure that there was like an understanding of health, like because it comes in like mental health, physical health. So basically, during our meetings, we.
You got lost for words?
Yeah.
No, Martha. It's okay. Just take your time.
So we started creating a survey because we really wanted to hear from other people.
And how involved are the kids? Like, what percentage is it? Like 80% of the kids, or it's like 10% of the kids that's involved in?
I would say less than 10% are involved at the moment, but when it comes to how we plan to disseminate the surveys, or the students plan to disseminate the surveys, then that reach will definitely expand. And then there's also, as we're rolling out the project, we will give other students that are not officially affiliated with the Wellness Council at Port Richmond and the other schools that we roll this out to also participate by having discussions and
How about
such.
alumni? Like, I know Martha just recently, like she just recently graduated, but do y'all let the alumni come back, because they're part of this also, and they lived through it and graduated, actually.
Wow. I that would be a question for each school. I will say this though, so just going back to engaging parents, the Student Wellness Council actually fits into the larger goal of having a school wellness council that can actually include participation of parents, and
I would love that. PTA is all right, but PTA is.
But the nice thing about the School Wellness Council is that it's the purpose of the council is very individualized to each school. So the issues across each school will likely vary, or it might be similar.
No, it does.
But at least you all collectively as a council can choose what the pressing issues are, and then, in order of priority, which issues would you like to address first. But at least it includes parents in that conversation, especially parents that have children at the school as well.
Yes.
And students identified that as well. So some of the students at Curtis, when they were discussing issues that they saw, they felt it was really important to include parents in those conversations. For instance, if you're educating, they were educating their peers about mental health issues, they decided, sometimes the parents are also going through mental health issues. They even said sometimes teachers need support. So that was actually identified by the students that really needs to be pulled into the project, is supporting parents and supporting school staff and teachers as well.
Yes.
And I'm so happy they're aware of that right there, because they have so much going on as teenagers with cell phones and internet and social medias and this and that and it is. So it's so good to hear youth that's involved. I want to go into the School Gardens Summit and projects, but please remind me to go back to the substance abuse, because I want to speak a little bit about that also.
Sure. And so for the substance abuse piece, being that Darcy has been involved in that particular project before she transitioned over to CWI, she'd be probably the best suited person to speak to some of that. But just to answer the question relating to the School Garden Summit, so it's an annual summit that started 4 years ago to pretty much promote the importance of school gardens, but also if we're trying to strengthen the impact, we want to make sure that at least, students are able to take the knowledge they learned within the classroom or within the garden home. And so that summit has been a place for schools to learn about how to have, a garden, like how to start a garden at their school. And there's a variety of gardens, whether you want to have a garden, outdoor, outside of your school, or if you can actually maintain a garden within the classroom. That's the place that you would learn some of these skills. And so the 5th annual School Garden Summit is taking place next year. The date is TBA at the moment.
To be announced.
Yeah, to be announced. But within this work, we are actually inviting the community, and actually this year there will be a increased participation of students. That's the hope, in terms of what they would like to see within their own school garden. And I think that that's special because, again, it goes back to what Darcy was saying earlier, where we're not just making all these decisions without understanding the implications and without understanding the needs. And so it's nice to make sure that we keep students at the center. And then one thing I do want to mention in terms of how we want to reach out to parents, in the fall, the Office of Food and Nutrition Services is rolling out a pilot that will focus on having a vegetable of the month. And so this is something that there will be student ambassadors appointed by each school that's leading this work among other students. And they're pretty much going to be receiving like info cards that has different recipes as it relates to each vegetable of the month.
Yes,
and
please include okra and squash. That gets left out.
I'll pass that on to the Office of Food and Nutrition Services. It's a brand new pilot, and it's from K through 5th grade. And so the goal here really is to, one, expose students to, again, continue to expose them to fruits and vegetables, more fruits and vegetables, but also understanding the preparation process, because sometimes people have like fruits and vegetables in front of them and they're like, okay, what do I do with this? And so, and that's a real challenge, like, how do I cook this? And so it's nice to equip people with tools and resources that they can bring home to their parents, so that they have something within reach that they can use in the kitchen. But then the other program I want to mention is Cooking Matters, and that program is a program that started with City Harvest. And so the special thing this year is that for the first time there was a parent engagement piece where students were, and this program was very focused on students receiving like the tools to actually like prepare certain things within the classroom. So yes. Cooking Matters would hire a person to come in and provide that instruction, and it was built into like a lesson from like week to week. And so, and it's only offered to 5th graders, but the really cool thing about it this year is that there was a parent component piece where there was parents and students actually preparing a dish together. And so that's something that we're hoping that we could expand upon.
Tell all the parents to come.
Yeah.
Not just one parent, that everybody, because it's so wonderful
Absolutely.
when you can engage with your child and do positive stuff like that. And, just as a parent, it kind of calms you down when they're in the kitchen, because I'm a parent. I don't like my kids to come in the kitchen while I'm cooking. But, I also teach them from a distance how to make their own stuff. And I feel like working together is even wonderful.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. And it's interesting that you bring up the bonding aspect, because I never really looked at it in that way. But that is like so powerful, given that a lot of our parents who have like to work 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet, some of them don't have the time to spend with their kids. But when you actually get to bring parents and children in the same room, to make a dish together. I think that that's special,
Yes.
and that's a moment that
And
they
they'll
can
never
actually
forget,
celebrate.
right? They'll never forget that, and they get to eat the food after.
Yeah, absolutely. There's that part too.
Or during the process.
Yeah, right. They might want to taste because you know the cook is the last person to eat anyway. So,
Yes.
do you provide the material and stuff for the garden and the cooking classes, or?
Yeah, so for the gardens, we've applied to a number of funding sources to be able to pay for subcontractors to go into schools and do the actual installation. And then we also help the school to actually like pay for the materials that they would need to use to do the garden installation. One thing that we do empower our schools to do is also apply for grants that they could use to, sustain their gardens as well. And also we do realize that, maintaining a garden is not the easiest thing, and sometimes it requires more than one or two people to be involved in that process. And this is where the students comes in too, but we also encourage our schools to actually look into other resources to sustain their garden as well. So there's a sustainability plan that hasn't been perfect, but for the most part, we've been trying to encourage our schools to continue to apply for funding to sustain their gardens. So it's not just installed and then it goes away.
Are you in Port Richmond, Martha's former school?
For school gardens,
Yes.
we are not. We actually have done most of our school garden projects across elementary and middle schools.
Okay. Because I'm a member of the Richmond Terrace Therapeutic Garden, and one thing I would recommend is try to partnership with Makerspace and see if you can get the classes to do the garden boxes, because a lot of people don't understand you just can't plant the stuff in the soil here and expect to eat it. It's no good for you, You have to have the garden box, and that makes it a little bit healthier. And
yes, we've worked with Makerspace in the past.
Right.
And so we always give our schools a menu of options as to which subcontractors they want to work with to provide the installation. So Makerspace has been a phenomenal partner.
Yes, and they're very active in the community.
Oh yeah,
and they give back. It's not just about paying them for stuff. Yes, they give internships. They help the community a lot, and they support the artists and they support the community.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Yes, for sure. So yes, we've partnered with them. We've also partnered with Snug Harbor and some also individuals that have been providing school garden assistance.
How about Tottenville?
Tottenville. So
Did I say it right?
You said it perfectly, Ja. You said it perfectly. So I believe Tottenville actually has a school garden as well.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I love how they have the garden and they have the cooking, because it goes hand in hand, actually. They should be able to not even go to the supermarket, go shopping in the garden and cook the stuff from the garden.
Yes.
So.
That's so some of the schools that have been working within school gardens have been very successful with having the garden go to the cafe. So essentially bringing the garden harvest into the actual lunchroom, which has been awesome. So I think that, that's something that we're also trying to promote, given the capacity and the type of garden that each school has, is, helping schools to be able to make that connection, but also sustain their harvest as well.
I mean, I'm glad you said sustain, because it's a sustainable food source. And I feel, once it's really up and running, that might even help a few of the food banks, when it comes to food and vegetables and stuff. They'll be able to go to these schools and, collect vegetables for the community and whatever they have left over to give,
That would be great. That would be great. I think some schools actually have done donations from their school gardens as well, which has been awesome. I think PS 31 actually donates.
My favorite school.
Yeah. Yeah, they have been tremendous with donating produce back to the community. So that's special.
I love that school. When I first moved here, I think I had 2 or 3 of my kids in the school, and I became the PTA president 2 years in a row over there. So I love 31. I was just so shocked to find out that they didn't have any modern technology there until recently. I worked on a budget committee with Debbie Rose. Me and Susan Fowler was on the same committee. That's how I know her so well.
Susan's awesome.
Yes. And that was our main issue. Like, we didn't fight for that. We fought for lights and stuff, you know, around my specific community, and we didn't win. And, you know, when they gave Clove Lake another senior citizen gym, which I didn't think they deserved, once I heard that PS31 was getting modern technology, it just moved that dark cloud away. You know, I was just more appreciative that they're coming into the light. And as a parent, I couldn't believe that my kids attended that school and they didn't have no computers or nothing, you know.
What year did you see that change? Was that recent?
Yes, this was probably 2016.
Nice.
They're just getting modern technology there.
That's a long time.
Yes. Okay. But it has been addressed, and you know, maybe that can help with the balance that we have on, you know, the educational level, where it's just not the kids on the other side of the island that's, you know, getting that good education. You know, our kids need that education also, and it's not about sports. Everybody can't play basketball. Everybody can't play a sport. We need people in other areas. That's why I commend her for going into Martha, for going into, you know, the public arena, because it's going to be tough. So make sure you toughen your skin up now, you know what I'm saying? And just do what you do. Do what you do. I tell you, the time goes so quick. We need to get to the sugary beverage.
How we met.
Yes.
How we all met. So, and I just want to reinforce for all the viewers that please, if there's any way that you feel that we could, you know, do our work better. So we love feedback, especially from the community, especially from the parents, as to how we could include the community and parents in these conversations, just to make sure that our reach is actually happening. We're making the impact that we truly desired. Please reach out to us. That's one thing I do want to reinforce. And there's a space for you all at the table. I will tell you that.
Yes. Because when I came, I had a space.
Oh, yeah. And you still have a space.
Yes.
I hope you come to
anytime. I just hope I don't have to melt again, because I came in there, I was practically melting when I got there.
Yeah, it was hot.
But I had some good food, good breakfast, fresh vegetables, and the water. I love the water with the lemon. And
Did you?
Yes.
Well, I have good news for you, John. We bought you a gift.
Oh.
Yes. And so, does this look familiar? So, just to give you, the viewers, just some information on the sugary beverage event where we met Ja. It's an event that we were actually funded through the New York City Department of Mental Hygiene, the organization that provided us with this diffuser jar to expand awareness of how certain communities and people of color are targeted by marketing companies as it relates to sugary beverages, and how those harmful effects are really causing, you know, specific illnesses, and a lot of them are life-threatening. You know, diabetes being one of them.
And just a little overview of your panelists, because you had a great panel up there. In addition to the great panel, even the attendees. I seen the Commissioner of Human Rights sitting across from me. So.
Yes. So our panelists ranged from a pediatrician, and the pediatrician pretty much told the story of his personal journey, his personal health journey, of how he lost weight and how he had to make that lifestyle change of just making adjustments to what he was bringing in the household, but then also moving more. And then we also had a parent. She talked a little bit about her journey, and she also talked about, you know, the challenge that her late husband had because he was affected by diabetes, and unfortunately he's not here with us. And so this issue is near and dear to her. We also had Project Hospitality on the panel.
Yes,
they're everywhere. They do amazing work.
Yes.
And then we also had a registered dietitian from Richmond University Medical Center that pretty much talked about, you know, her counseling strategies and how there has to be some type of inclusion between children and families. So if you're going to counsel children, then families need to be part of that conversation.
I agree.
One thing that did stick out to me that the pediatrician mentioned is that, when it comes to interventions as it relates to helping people make that adjustment, that's something that comes from within. So it has to come from within. We can set up all the fancy healthy options and whatnot, but we truly have to help people.
The old saying, they say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So,
absolutely. And the reality is that these marketing companies, they're going to continue marketing to these communities, but we really want to increase empowerment. Like, we want to empower our communities more to really prioritize themselves and prioritize their health. And I think that that's a connection that is difficult. It's like reprogramming someone's brain to change how they've been eating, and
that's why I was stating that
tough.
Each individual homes, because everybody have their own traditions, family traditions, family recipes, family diets that they eat.
So we need to be very mindful of that. But I think that it's just a matter of, number one, we just have to be very diligent with our conversations with communities, and I think that it's a major shift. It's a major shift.
Is it going to be annually?
The sugary beverage event?
I mean, I hope that's not the last one.
No, that's wow. So it's actually a campaign. So it's not annually, I would say, but I would say it's ongoing. So we're always looking for ways that we can partner with other community members or individuals that are hosting events that they would want us to come in.
We're going to have an event here.
Let's make it happen.
Yes, we're going to do our sugary event here.
And you can bring this to the event. This is for you, Josh. So
once I take that home, I ain't taking it back out.
I don't know if you've used this before. It's a diffuser, and essentially what you would do is, okay, I'm not going to try to open this because I might just have this lid fly off. But essentially what you would do is you would put, specific like fruits and herbs or whatever you feel like you just want to taste within flavor of your wonderful beverage within here.
I love it. I love water.
Fill it up with water. And I think that the best taste happens when you have it stored overnight.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so, or at least like 4 to 6 hours.
Thanks for the heads up.
Yes, this is for you.
Thank you.
And then, it's very hot, and along with...
I'm carrying this home.
It's very hot outside, so we also gifted you a water bottle from CWI. Please stay hydrated with water.
Yes. I will use this immediately. It's hot out there.
And because we know that you're a member of the garden.
Yes.
And you do some gardening, and I'm assuming that you go food shopping as well because you
All
said
the
you
time.
cooked with your kids.
Yes.
Here you go. Here's
you.
a tote bag.
Thank you. I will be toting this too, okay?
Yes.
I just want to commend you for doing such a great job as an MC at the sugary.
Oh,
because
thank you.
You made sure that everybody got their say and everybody spoke.
Thank you.
You addressed everything. But I want to thank y'all for being here once again. Before I forget, I want to thank y'all for the wonderful gifts. I want to address, we're down to like the last 8 or so minutes.
Sure.
And I just want to go into the substance abuse. Because I know a lot of parents are interested in what type of programs and what type of campaigns y'all have. One question before y'all go in is, do y'all address the vaping also as substance abuse?
Yes.
Okay.
So the answer is yes. And also you should meet our colleague, Jasmine Rivera, who is the manager. She's really in charge of the Tackling Youth Substance Abuse Coalition. She does a lot of the support work around it. So she can speak extensively about this. She could take up the whole hour.
Okay.
I will connect you.
Yes, we'll bring it back also.
But yes, so we focus on all these. A lot of times people think we're only talking about opioids, the prescription drugs, but we're really talking about any drug that's affecting our community, especially that's affecting our young people. When we say young people, we're looking at ages 12 to 25. So we know that alcohol is one of the big ones. We know marijuana is another big one. Vaping is another one. And then opioids as well, as that comes up.
Especially here, this is like the highest opioid population in the whole country for some reason, just one borough. And I'm pretty sure it's not just adults that's affected by the opioid. I know it's a lot of young people, because I read somewhere where they just was prescribing this stuff at one time here. No matter what you went to the doctor for, they was just pushing it. What alternatives do you have for people that's trying to get off of opioids, or people that's trying to get off of marijuana, or people that's trying to get off of vaping? What resources do y'all provide for them?
Absolutely. So I feel like there could be a really long answer to this, so I'm just going to kind of cut
briefly,
to it
yes.
a little bit. So we have a work group within TISA, Tackling Youth Substance Abuse, which really worked to create a behavioral health resource guide. So we know that it can be really overwhelming to figure out what resources you need, where they are. So it lists all the mental health and substance use providers across Staten Island, what ages they take, where the location is, what their phone numbers are. So for direct service providers, we have that. We also have parents of people who may have a substance use issue that are looking to get involved in advocacy or work on solutions. They're welcome to join any of TISA's work groups. TISA is doing a lot of different projects across the board, so to kind of narrow into one is hard, but definitely if you look at SIPCW's website, you can also find those resources looking through TISA and through TISA social media.
I'm going to look for her because I'm involved with the Fatherhood Initiative out here, Fatherhood Matters diverse group. And I feel that, the fathers need to be informed, especially when it comes to all of these issues. So I'm going to see if I can link her. And maybe she can come in and give the fathers a little introduction or,
There's a parent workshop that actually TISA does, if that's something that the Fatherhood Initiative is interested in. We're also open to training parents who want to then facilitate these workshops in their communities. And so it's teaching parents about really just showing them. We also collect data. So what is the data showing in Staten Island? What are the resources? What are some signs of substance use? How can you help the young people in your life, whether that's kids or children that you coach or you work with? And then really just connecting them to resources across Staten Island and knowing that resources can be really broad too, like social emotional learning is really important when we're talking about prevention work in the schools. And then if we're talking about alternatives, we can even connect with child wellness and looking at different alternative solutions as well to medication.
And mental health, most importantly.
Absolutely, we can't ignore that overlap with substance use and mental
I feel
health.
that's like abuse also.
Absolutely.
A lot of people need help, and it is just not normal for them to go get help. They need to know that this is the normal thing to do. That's not how you're supposed to conduct yourself. And if you're feeling a certain way, you shouldn't be scared to go get help, So I would like y'all to address that.
The stigma, are you speaking about, like really addressing the stigma around mental health?
Yes.
Absolutely.
The stigma, because mental health can also be the reason for substance abuse, okay?
Of course.
For adults and children. You have some children that's just neglected growing up, and then, they're so easily influenced by peers, and then they get involved in things that they shouldn't be involved in, and then it's just too late. They're just caught up, and they dropped out of school, and they feel that they have no hope. So,
Absolutely, and I think students recognize this as well. When I talk to young people about different drugs, they definitely get why pills or like prescription drugs can be dangerous, sometimes alcohol, but with marijuana, sometimes that conversation is trickier. But we talk about the developing brain. Your brain isn't fully developed until you're around age 25. And I have students tell me, I only smoke when I'm really stressed out. And I'm like, well, tell me about that stress.
Right,
Let's talk about that.
Right, they're too young to even indulge into anything like that. But then it's like society promotes it with this miracle marijuana and the CBD, and it makes it seem like it's just open and it's there for them when it's not. They don't know the dangers of it. And I agree with you that 25 is a better age. Your mind is more developed, and you should be a little bit closer to your goals in life. Starting young, you won't make it to your goals in life because that's a distraction right there. So,
Absolutely, and I think I'm glad that you brought up food justice earlier, and Omalara was talking about the targeted advertising, and we see that with different drugs as well. And I have these conversations with young people. I say, how many alcohol ads do you see on average? How many ads do you see for water or healthy food in comparison? And we know that certain areas, we know that people of color, that youth and low-income communities are being targeted by alcohol advertising, things like that.
Especially like my neighborhood that only has the 3 bodegas there. So, it's not like they're going to sell anything other than that right there. and the sugary drinks and everything that's bad for you. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate y'all coming in. The time goes so fast. Any shout outs that y'all want to shout out?
Yes.
Too many.
Too many. All right. So shout out to Adrienne Abadi, our executive director. She's phenomenal, and her leadership has been amazing, not even just for the organization, but for the entire borough. Shout out to the Office of the Borough President, because without the Health and Wellness Task Force that started in 2015, CWI would not exist. Department of Education, Department of Health, City Harvest. There's so many. I can go down the list.
Our students.
There's students, all the students.
How about your support team, your family? Did you leave out anybody?
My entire family, mommy, daddy, everyone, my siblings. I love you. I would, again, I just want to reiterate that, again, we have a number of coalitions and initiatives that, everyone, you are more than welcome to join us and participate in. And so please take advantage of our website if you want more information, sipcw.org, or you can go on our social media platforms and just type in what you see here to reach out to us. Even if you're not specifically interested in CWI, but you're interested in the behavior health or TISA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We're going to close. We're
Sorry.
going to bring you back. Yes, we're going to bring you back in so much. But I see my director is telling us we're going to close.
Sorry.
Shout Dreads, lived at SINY. Thank you, Darcy. Thank you, Omalera. And thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Sure.